Us live via Skype from VOA's East Africa Bureau in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi, is John Tanza Mabusu himself, managing editor and host of VOA's South Sudan in Focus, a radio program. Good evening, John.
Good evening, Shaka Ssali.
How are you?
I am terrific, as you normally say.
I'm glad that you can actually be terrific, but I wish, of course, you were hugely terrific, especially given that you were on the ground back in Juba when Riek Machar's plane touched down. What was the mood like? What was the immediate reaction from the people?
Well, the immediate reaction from the people was that peace has finally come home. People are rejoicing. People are saying this marks the end of suffering. Shaka Ssali, you must understand that the people of South Sudan are resilient. They have suffered so much during previous conflicts in the country. And so the arrival of Dr. Riek Machar to Juba was received as a sign of peace. In fact, some people were saying this marks the end of fighting in the country.
Did you sense anything that could probably tell you that you could see a sort of emerging chemistry between the two parties? Because there are a lot of critics who have actually been saying that there seems to be no trust between the two groups.
Well, listening to the speeches by the two leaders, that is President Salva Kiir and first Vice President Dr. Riek Machar, they had a reconciliatory tone for the first time. These two leaders have not been seeing each other eye to eye, but on that day when Machar was sworn in, President Salva Kiir said, "My brother has come home. We are ready to move this country forward and make sure that the people of South Sudan enjoy peace." That is a very rare statement that we have not had for, close to 2 years. All we have been hearing is blame games. You started the war, the rhetorics between the two warring parties was very clear. Juba would say the war is imposed on them, and the SPLM in opposition will also say the war was imposed on them. And each side has been blaming the other for starting the war. But on that day, the tone was different. The tone was of welcoming. The tone was of reconciliation. It was a very, if you like, a statement of leadership from the two leaders.
You know, it's interesting that you emphasize the rhetoric. Of course, there are some people who will tell you it is one thing, of course, to walk the talk, but it is quite another, in fact, to walk the walk. Is there anything, frankly, on the ground, anything tangible, anything concrete that allows you to think that at the end of the day, these two parties are actually going to walk the walk?
They are going to walk the walk because the people that they lead are not living a dignified life. Life in Juba is very, very, very hard. People have no money. People are struggling to put food on the table. In fact, there are very few people who can afford 2 meals a day. The majority are surviving on 1 meal or no meal. So the statement, the assurance from the leaders that they are ready to move forward and move the country from all the crises is, if you like, a welcoming news to the majority of people who have been struggling all this time. And it's not about Juba only. It's about all the 10 states and, if you like, the 28 states that were created later. People are really, really suffering. I mean, I've spoken to people from different walks of life. They tell me, "John, you're lucky that you are staying in a hotel. You have meals on the table in the morning and evening, but some of us they don't have that privilege, and we are praying that we don't get sick, because if we get sick, that's another problem."
You know, there was once a president here in the United States, his name was Ronald Reagan, during the Cold War. He once said, "Trust but verify." Just in case there are some second guesses in as far as the trust is concerned between the two parties. Is there any particular person who can in fact act, any particular party, as a deterrent on the ground in Juba?
Well, that is going to be a huge task for whoever wants to spoil the mood, because right now, the people of South Sudan have been very patient in a sense that with all the problems that they are experiencing, they have not gone to the streets to demonstrate, to say enough is enough, stop this war, come together, form a government of national unity. The people have been very patient. And so if you play with their patience, then you are playing with a time bomb. I think the two leaders have realized that it's time to come together and move the country forward, because the people have been silent for quite a long time. And you know, when somebody does not talk, you don't know what is in their minds. So there's a lot that the two leaders need to, get from the mood of the people. They need to gauge from the chemistry of the people. Like when Dr. Riek Machar landed in Juba, security was very tight. I was not able to go to the airport because all the roads were blocked. I mean, you see soldiers and they tell you, you cannot go there. But people are saying, okay, tighten the security, let him come in, let him be sworn in, let him go to where he's supposed to go and stay. But what is very important is we want the government of national unity to be formed so that this suffering ends. That is a strong message that the two leaders took seriously.
You talk, of course, about how the people are doing the suffering, and of course, you know as well as I do that there is a saying that when two elephants fight, it is the grass that is trampled upon. Do those people that you talk about who are doing the suffering, do they have an avenue? Do they have a way of expressing their difficulties, for example? Because the other two parties, each of them has an army.
Well, we have to take it in this context that South Sudan is, what a lot of people told me is that it is a police state. I asked people, if you are suffering and if you are not able to put food on the table, what are you doing at home? You need to go on the streets. They told me that this is a militarized situation. You might go in the street and come back home in a coffin. So people are afraid to speak out their minds. People are afraid to express their feelings, but they are saying, since the two leaders who started the conflict have reconciled and they are sitting together and they are willing to move the country forward, let us see how they will do it. And we are watching them. That is what everybody is saying in Juba. We are watching them. We want an end to the conflict. This is just a quotation from people who I've spoken to, and they're saying they want an end to the conflict. They don't want to know how the government is going to be formed. They don't want to know who is going to be in that government, but they want peace. They want the country to come back to its dignified position. They want the economic crisis to end, because according to what a lot of people are telling me, all they need is they want to live a dignified life. They want to put food on the table for their families.
You know, there is a saying that a politician is a servant of the people, not their master, no matter how popular he or she may be. And indeed, you often hear politicians or leaders, or rulers for that matter, talking about how power belongs to the people. But in reality, at the end of the day, power belongs to certain powerful individuals.
Indeed, power belongs to the two leaders, that is President Salva Kiir and first Vice President Riek Machar. They wield the power, they call the shots. But at the end of the day, if you wield the power and call the shots, if you don't have the followings, the right followings, at the end of the day, Shaka Ssali, this transitional period ends with an election. So it is upon the two leaders to watch their steps carefully, because at the end of the day, the people who are suffering today are the people who are going to be electorates tomorrow. They will need the votes of these people. So I think they are also, if you like, moving with a lot of caution.
Well, on that note, thank you so much, John, for interacting with us.